We were in an apartment for probably there for about 6 months, and then we got evicted because he never paid rent. But evicted in a really shitty way, where this guy, our neighbor, who we trusted, my sister and I trusted, and picked us up at the top of the hill, bus let us off, and was like, "Hey, I'm gonna take you down to your apartment," which is weird because we would just walk down. It was not even. I mean, it's half a mile. It's nothing, and we're like, okay. And he was basically softening the blow for what we were about to see visually, which is people, strangers, coming in and just throwing a bunch of shit onto the front yard there. I mean, it's an apartment complex.
Like you're out.
You're out and stuff is breaking and they don't care. And it's like, that's my ham radio. And actually, no, they had a stuff that they kept because I guess my dad never paid any rent and somehow just charmed his way.
That's why you're moving so much.
Part of the reason we had no money was because my dad was very phenomenally irresponsible. There's some just amazing stories. The last place we lived as a family was Syracuse, New York. And I never lived in one place for more than a year.
Oh, wow.
Constantly moving.
Military or just?
No. Just the guy's, wildly irresponsible. And also, it not just irresponsible, but as an adult and as somebody who, part of my job and part of a skill that I've honed is to observation, And now that I'm an adult too, he just was all id and ego. I mean, it was what he wanted to do. He was a pathological liar. I mean, just lied about everything, and nothing was ever his fault. It's just a never-ending cycle of fucked upness. My mom, immediately found herself in this just shitty, and we're kids. We can't fathom the personal, emotional pain she's going through with a person that kind of betrayed her in multiple ways, took off, left her with all kinds of problems and issues. Now she's dealing with her mom, who's, I told you, and all that.
And 3 kids.
And 3 kids going why can't I have a Nintendo? And she said, because it hasn't been invented yet. You got to wait a decade or so. Now that I'm a dad, I've come to really understand and appreciate what she had to do on a deeper level, even though I knew it as I got older. But it's shit that we're all still dealing with.
Welcome to Identified, where we explore, challenge, and redefine the traditional concepts of family and identity. In this episode, I am joined by comedian, writer, actor, and producer David Cross.
I was, naive as a little kid. A lot of the stuff, I have 2 younger sisters, one I'm very close with. That's Tammy's wife, my sister Wendy. And there was a lot of putting things together in retrospect with more information and hindsight and all that made it more fucked up than we knew because we were, 5, 6, 7, 8. My dad, he was a terrible father, not in the sense of he never really beat us beyond the regular. We had the wooden spoon and the belt, but nothing. It wasn't like there was no blood or anything. It was.
And that was normal where you were, and
yeah, it was. And it was also nothing that was. Again, I don't mean to say that they beat the shit out of us. They didn't, and I think with my mom, there was some frustration that came with having 3 kids and a shitty husband that became less and less present until he left. So we moved around a lot. We had no money. And part of the reason we had no money was because my dad was very phenomenally irresponsible. There's some just amazing stories. The last place we lived as a family was Syracuse, New York. And I never lived in one place for more than a year.
Oh, wow.
Constantly moving.
Military or just?
No. Just the guy's, wildly irresponsible. And also, it not just irresponsible, but as an adult and as somebody who, part of my job and part of a skill that I've honed is to observation, And now that I'm an adult too, he just was all id and ego. I mean, it was what he wanted to do. He was a pathological liar. I mean, just lied about everything, and nothing was ever his fault. He was always the victim. He'd get fired. He was one of those, you can't fire me, I quit kind of guys. And we're like, no, I just fired you before you said that, so
right.
I did fire you. You can say you quit. You didn't really quit because I fired you. But anyway, he was one of those guys. We moved back to Atlanta. I was born in Atlanta. Again, moved all over, couple places in Connecticut, couple places in New York, couple places in Florida.
So different school every year.
Different school every single year, wow. Yeah. And then moved back to Georgia when I was 9, and then went there like we always did with the idea of this bigger, better job. And he also did tons of different things. He was traveling salesman for a long time. And my sister and I are convinced, again now with history and more pieces of the puzzle, like he was just fucking around constantly. And he was really personable. And he was from England. So he had this, if you were in the South in the 60s, 70s.
It's pretty exotic, right?
Yeah, and he very affable and very extroverted. And I watched it when I was a little older, when I was hanging out with him. I haven't seen him or talked to him since I was 19, but could see, it was like, oh, this guy's, and you know, the ladies liked it. So then we moved back to Georgia, and then we were in an apartment for probably there for about 6 months, and then we got evicted because he never paid rent. But evicted in a really shitty way, where this guy, our neighbor, who we trusted, my sister and I trusted, and picked us up at the top of the hill, bus let us off, and was like, hey, I'm gonna take you down to your apartment, which is weird because we would just walk down. It was like not even, I mean, it's like half a mile, it was nothing. And we're like, okay, and he was basically softening the blow for what we were about to see visually, which is people, strangers, coming in and just throwing a bunch of shit onto the front yard there. I mean, it's an apartment complex.
Like you're out.
You're out and stuff is breaking and they don't care. And it's like, that's my ham radio. And actually, no, they had a stuff that they kept because I guess my dad never paid any rent and somehow just charmed his way.
That's why you're moving so much.
I don't know about prior to that on that specific occasion. So, but stuff of mine they just took. I had a ham radio, which I really liked, and they took that. And the other stuff is like, you know, my chair at my desk is like, you know, they're just tossing it on the thing. Then my sisters and I got separated because we had to, you know, find a place to stay, and like, you stay with these guys, and you stay with these guys, and you stay with these guys, and we're staying with these guys. And we did that for a little while. My mom and dad found us another apartment, even with all that stuff. And I know that probably was because they were Jewish. It was like one of the very few times it paid to be Jewish in the South in the 70s, because the apartment complex folks were Jewish, and the people, like the manager. So we went there, and then my dad left and went to Phoenix, Arizona, and then we didn't see him again until he came back into town. I went out to visit him. I'm truncating a long story.
How many years between when he left and when he came back?
3.5, 4. Okay. And
a long time as a kid.
Yeah. And my mom had no skills. And he left her in a mountain of debt and lied about everything. So I remember the very slow, methodical way that she had to build up credit. I think the first thing she got was a gas card, like a Citgo card or a Sunoco credit card, you know, whatever.
Limit on it or something.
Yeah, whatever it was. Paid that off. Did that a couple times. Was able to get a Sears card and got, you know, some sneakers for the kids and things we needed from Sears, the bare minimum. Paid that off. It just took a long time. And at that point I was 10, Wendy was 8, and Julie would have been 5.5.
So the oldest kid, okay.
Yeah, the oldest kid. And you know, you got kids who only have varying degrees of maturity, who are still have that thing like, I want, you know, Jason has this thing, I want it, why can't I have one? Why can't we ever have pizza? Just stuff like that. You know, I remember my mom saying to me, and it was a bummer, I remember we were driving somewhere, and she said, you have to be the man of the family now. And, you know, it wasn't a threat or anything, and I knew it. I kind of knew it. It was just, but I want to be a kid. You know,
I want a ham radio and some pizza.
And we were latchkey kids because she had to go out and work.
Was that new for her to get a job at that point?
Yeah, she was a teacher when she met my dad. And then, you know, I was a honeymoon baby. They got married. And another interesting facet to all this was my mom's mom. They had a really kind of psycho relationship. And my mom's childhood wasn't that great. Her dad died in front of her when she was 18. He had a aneurysm and just boom. Like they were in there like, you know, living room, and he went up to get a book, and and her brother, so it was her mom and dad, and I never knew my grandfather, but my grandmom was very cold, not emotional, not overtly loving. She just never expressed that kind of thing, and we never saw it. She's very intellectual, and she was an antiquarian, so she had this fancy bookstore. I should say the bookstore had fancy books, but she didn't really read. She read like shitty mystery, boilerplate. It was weird. And my mom's a voracious reader, as am I. They were close because they had to be close, but it was just weird. And her brother went insane, like certifiably insane, from when he was about 17 to 19, and then he was institutionalized. And my mom was very shy, introverted, not attractive, not ugly, but just there was nothing like, oh, she's hot, And then this guy comes along from Leeds, and he was in the army at that point, and he's everything she's not, never been out with a guy like that, and she just fell for him, and they met in Michigan, in Ann Arbor, and my grandmother saw through him immediately, and my mom, but I love him, he's great. My dad and my grandmother never got along,
right?
And he leaned on her for money a lot, and so there was that wedge in the relationship between my mom and her mom. And also my grandmother was right, which makes it even worse.
Right.
Because she was right about all of it. She was shitty. She did it in a shitty way. And she was just, not the greatest mom to my mom. And also they fat shamed her when she was a kid. She was and now she's got real food issues. Real. Legit, we got to make her eat. We got to be on top of her. It's just a never-ending cycle of fucked upness. My mom, immediately found herself in this just shitty. And we're kids. We can't fathom the personal, emotional pain she's going through with a person that kind of betrayed her in multiple ways, took off, left her with all kinds of problems and issues. Now she's dealing with her mom, who's, I told you, and all that.
And 3 kids.
And 3 kids going why can't I have a Nintendo? And she said, because it hasn't been invented yet. You got to wait a decade or so. Now that I'm a dad, I've come to really understand and appreciate what she had to do on a deeper level, even though I knew it as I got older. But it's shit that we're all still dealing with.
Parents are both still alive.
Yeah.
Have they met your kids?
Oh, my mom, yeah. Oh, no, my mom's a big...
With, yeah.
Oh, God, yeah. No, my mom and I, we just hung out. I don't know. She was up here helping
that's great.
My wife out with Marlo, her daughter.
But not your father.
No, he's here somewhere in New York. I can't imagine he's going to be around much longer. He's got to be 89 at this point. 88, 89 or something like that. Yeah, I've been living here for, 24 years, and he's been here the entire time, and I've never... I won't. My wife will almost annually go, aren't you curious? Just for the story of it. And I am, of course, but I feel like it would be posturing for the emotional story. And there is a part of me, before I had a kid, I thought this, but now that I have a kid, I'm really, no, there's cause and effect. It's what I try to teach my daughter. When you behave a certain way, these things happen, and you do not get to meet me or share in my life, and you do not get to see your granddaughter, and she's not going to know who you are except through my stories, and that's what you get. But the mitigating factor in that, and my sister Wendy and I have discussed this, and we've also experienced it too in various ways. He would turn it on us because there's nothing for him to apologize for, because he hasn't been.
Wow. Yeah.
It's us. We're the terrible children.
Right.
I don't know if he thinks we forced him to leave. I don't know what story he's made up in his head.
He knows you're in New York. He knows you have a child, so he knows all these things. He's not.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you think he wants to meet you or your
I have
kid?
no idea. I think he's so twisted. He's very, 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 very Trumpian in that way of, he's just a pathological liar. He inflates his, I'm saving stories from my memoir. They're comically ridiculous stories about, oh yeah, he was Donna Mills' boyfriend for a while. The lady from Falcon Crest or one of those type of
80s
shows.
Actress, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Strange.
Yeah. It's just bullshit.
You're close with both your sisters, it sounds like.
Much closer with the middle one. Everybody's still in Atlanta except for my youngest sister who's in North Carolina.
What is family to you?
My mom, my wife, my daughter, my dog, and my sisters. And my sister-in-law.
Yeah, the very simple, the sort of close-knit unit.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have a large extended family either. On my mom's side, there was my uncle, but he was institutionalized and didn't really, talked with them occasionally, but not very much. And then on my dad's side, I don't know what my dad said to his family. He came from a larger family, but nobody really reached out to us or checked on us or anything.
Are they all in England? Or were they?
No, the whole family came over. The two brothers came over on their own to one went to Long Island, one went to the Bronx, I think. Maybe Manhattan. But two brothers came over just to come to America and try to make it here. And then my aunt, there are four brothers and one daughter of my dad's family. And then my aunt was in a terrible motorcycle accident and was in a body cast, laid up for almost a year. And then they decided they were going to come over to America, my aunt, for kind of a fresh start kind of thing. Also, Leeds was nothing. And then more and more family was settling in the Bronx. It became just sort of a given that eventually everybody would come over, and because the whole family, and they had quite an extended family. So my Auntie Pearlie and Aunt Rose and all these people. Uncle
So you knew all
Bernard.
these people?
Yeah. And then, I have distinct memories of going to these fourth floor walk-ups and having these having Seder and having, a big Jewish meal and all these Brits. And it was all from Leeds, so they had that sing song oh, David, look at you, up and down, and my Annie Esther and whatever. And I have those memories from being a kid and lots of English Jews in the Bronx. So pretty much there were a couple people that were friendly to us when we reached out, but nobody really checked on us. We became estranged from that whole, or I did, and I don't think it was purposeful. It was just
drifted
But
off.
again, I don't know what my dad said.
Right.
I mean, who knows? Who knows?
Thanks for tuning in. Please consider subscribing to Identified wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss an episode. We're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all other major streaming platforms. And be sure to explore identifiedpod.com, the place to gain a better understanding of family. Our executive producer is Kiran Banerjee, and the show is produced by Palm Tree Island. The music for Identified is by Noella and Patricia Brennan. I'm Nabil Ayers. Thanks for tuning in.